Hello, my name is Katrina. I'm doing a video today on cognitive dissonance. So a lot of people are very upset with other groups of people. They're upset. Democrats are upset with Republicans, Democrats, spiritual people with Christians with atheists. It's insane. And a lot of it comes down to they believe that their set of morals are more just than others. And this is the righteous way to live in this world. So morals are a very good thing to have to ascertain what is good and what is bad. Can be very good. And we oftentimes have figures that we look up to, idols, people of grit that we find very appealing for us. For me in particular, it's Buddhism. So even the figurehead of Buddhism, the Buddha, right? He was very immoral in the beginning when he first started his Buddhism journey. He left his wife and his kid at home. He abandoned them to go off and find enlightenment. And you carry on down the road from personal experience, what I have seen in Buddhism. I've been to monasteries where I later left and found out that the man who ran the place cheated on his wife. Very, very, very important Buddhist figures that are alive today caught kissing little boys. The list goes on. And so idolization of other individuals can be a very detrimental and dangerous thing, whether it be with people that you align with, or not. Just because your philosophy is in alignment with theirs does not mean that they do what they say they do. And that even comes down to you as well. You do not say what you say is good, most likely. Most people can agree lying is wrong, yet it does take up 7% of human conversations. In the average 10-minute conversation, a person will lie at least once or twice. So this is something very prevalent, and this is something that unanimously people generally agree it is wrong. So with that being said, right, there are lots of different causes that we can stand for, and then logic that we can bash, right? With me in particular, Black Lives Matter movement was very important to me, and I say was because I don't agree with what they are doing anymore. I think that they should be going about things in a different way. I still do believe that Black Lives Matter, and that we should be protecting them, and we should be helping to further the cause of eradicating police discrimination against colored people. But do I think that their ways of doing it are effective, right? It may be vindictive, and it may at a certain point, make police angry, but it's not actually helping the situation. So with Black Lives Matter, we wanted to defund the police, which means that there would be a more, it would be harder to train police officers. It would be harder to dispatch them. There would be less funding for there to be adequate service for all areas that we need them in. And so defunding is maybe not the best option. What I believe now, if we were to actively challenge our anger and to go into something that was very functional, long-term game plan, it would be more checks and balances for the police departments, more independent investigation agencies, because right now when there's a problem within the police force, they internally deal with it. Also, a lot of their funding comes from tickets, and I think that that should not be the case because it just encourages them to find people more, and it's basically like a sales position where you I don't like it, but so yeah. And then on the other hand, a lot of these people are prone to violence. I think it's like 40% of police officers inflict domestic violence on their partner, so they're very violent. So yeah, I think that there are other ways to go about it, but defunding is not the option. And so with a lot of people, they have this dissonance, and it can come from emotions. It's like, yeah, but, yes, but, yes, this, and so they don't challenge it. They're vindicative. They think that because it's this situation, it's okay. And so both sides do it of any coin, pretty much, and a lot of people make excuses for it. I do as well. I lie still to this day. Just told you, basic example, dishonesty, right? I believe lying is wrong. I believe that obscuring somebody's sense of reality is a horrific thing to do, and yet I still do it. I do it sometimes to protect my image, sometimes to escape accountability. I do it, and I'm aware of it. And I now go back to people and I'm like, hey, I fucked up, I lied. Sorry about that. And then they're like, okay, can we stop talking? I'm like, I'm so sorry I lied. And they're like, this is weird. This has not happened to me too often. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sorry. But challenging things, doing new behaviors is an amazing thing. And challenging your beliefs is something that the best philosophers encouraged. A lot of times they would have classes, these philosophers, and they would get all these people in, and everybody would sit down, they'd give their lecture, right? And if they noticed that students stopped questioning them and questioning their beliefs and just started innately agreeing with it, they would kick them out of class. And so a lot of times we don't question our peers, we don't question ourselves, but we question views that we see as so opposite to ours, and we immediately reject them without even trying to see what logic could be in it. So with me, I've done racist fact-finding missions to see what basis racists have to stand on. I do not believe in racism. I do not believe that there is any sort of racial superiority in any way, shape, or form. I am going to explain something, though, that is going to, at face value, seem like I am agreeing with them. I just want to warn you that I'm not, and it will explain itself in a second. And then I am going to show you why this is the way that it is, at least from my understanding. So with a lot of racists, one of the things that they use to claim white supremacy is that on average, black people have a lower IQ than white people. Now, if you were just told that by your family, and then you were shown higher rates of violence from black people, right? There are differences in America and in culture with black people and white people. It is true. But they look at it and they don't think why that is. Why has that happened? What has, contributed to these circumstances and events? Now, I'm going to pull us out of discomfort a little bit and give us some facts for why the IQ could be lower than white people right now in America. So, I don't know who likes nutrition, but I love nutrition, especially when it correlates to biohacking and IQ. So, nutrition can count for a good bit of IQ points. It can count for, you being, having autoimmune disorders that cripple your life to being a functional person, depression, healthy. Like the difference is night and day depending on what you eat and put into your body. Not so much, I won't go into that. That's a whole nother thing. But a lot of black people live in food deserts. That is, food deserts are a place where there isn't a grocery store for like a few miles. So it's very hard to get vegetables, fruit, healthy foods. And one of the core contributing factors to this is that it is very expensive to uproot your family and move to better places, especially in this country when there has been so many things that have affected Black people, generational wealth being one of them. I think redlining, that was a thing up until like 60 years ago, where they kept them out of better schools. They forced them into certain parts of the neighborhood where they went to like underfunded schools, and they weren't able to get that generational wealth. And that can also contribute to things like trauma. Poverty can cause trauma. Poverty can cause depression, anxiety, and also it can increase domestic violence. And so, yes, there are a lot of different things that can contribute to IQ, trauma being one of them as well. I think that can contribute up to like 7 IQ points on its own. Also, racial injustice can cause trauma. And so when all these factors are considered, it can make a lot of sense why this is happening and how we haven't supported them that much and how we haven't, given them this jump to where other people are. Just schooling alone, it makes sense. We didn't give them the help that they needed. And now, 2 generations is really not enough for a lot of people to fix financial problems, because if you think about it, a lot of people in the US, if you come from a well-off family, you're able to afford to go to college, you're able to buy a home, your family helps you out with a lot of that. They put you through everything, that way you can go on and build your own wealth. And so a lot of people will not have that support system that they need to really grow and be able to have better opportunities. So IQ in particular, I think that for every year you go to college, it can be a contributing factor for like 2 to 3 IQ points increase. And that's also fluid intelligence that's building. And yeah, it's really crazy. So yeah, a lot of people will look at the other side and say, well, I have my facts, I have, my logic, I have my understandings of things, and they never challenge it, and they never look at why that is. And so it's Democrats do it, Republicans do it, spiritual people do it, Christians do it, atheists do it, and it is nuts. So I think the key point to why I made this video is dissect each and everything that you believe, and it will contribute to your arguments in the long run. And don't be afraid to look at the other side and why they believe what they believe, and actually consider if it's true or not. And sometimes it's hard to admit that the other side, the side that you're upset with, might be correct on some things, and why they could be, and how to come to, if you're hell-bent on having society be a certain way, have it be in a realistic way, right? Your solutions for your community to be in a way that is based in truth. Because if you can acknowledge the other side, where they stand, and then come back to your position and double down on it, nobody can shake you down, right? And admitting that nobody's perfect, because if you hate the other side, there are people in my own community in Buddhism where they do not follow what I believe, even though they're in my community, right? You have to try not to hate them, because you're just going to completely push them away from you in anything you have to say. And so love them, try to love them as best you can. And it's really hard to do this it is really hard to care about somebody who opposes your viewpoint. But even the worst of people, right, there is almost something beyond their control, right? And that is called environmental factors that contribute to them. So if somebody grew up in a Democrat family versus a Republican family, you know, they would most likely be Democrat, because they're absorbing the views, the facts, the understandings from those around them, and they are basically parakeeting it back. And so with a lot of people, just feel bad if they're stuck in a bad place, and understand that most of this is environment from them. It's not even, they don't even have free will, because if they were in a different environment, they would be believing something completely different. If they lived in Japan, most likely they would be racist. If they lived in Europe, most likely they would love everyone, right? Or I don't know about that. That was a stupid thing to say. Europeans can be racist too, but Japanese are very racist. And so, but it's mostly from environment. It's their culture. They've learned to just hate. And so it's almost like you are who you surround yourself with, and that can be so incredibly true, especially from the family that you're born into. And then also there's this cultural indoctrination, where you adapt to your culture, and then also there's this neurolinguistic programming involved as well in making you, where, you know, your people frame the world in a certain way, and you kind of adopt and pick up on that. Like, okay, for example, when somebody is presented with a piece of information, right, that could be a surgery. They've done studies on this, and it's proven a surgery, where it's like, this has a 20% fail rate, this surgery. Most likely people will not pick that surgery because it has a 20% fail rate. Whereas if somebody presents somebody with this surgery has an 80% success rate, they're more likely to do the selective surgery. And so the way that we're being presented information is so incredibly, like, depending on the culture you're in, you're presented with information differently. We structure our language in a different way. Sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. And so there are so many subconscious perceptions on things and the ways that we form our reality and our world around us. And it's even ingrained into our linguistics. So we're being persuaded from all sides to think in a certain way, behave in a certain way, to believe something is rational, to believe something is moral. And that can be from idols, that can be from politicians, that can be from parents, that can be from so many different people. And so what is right? And oftentimes we are not correct on anything. We wake up and we realize that even though what we're thinking is good and right and just, it is not our reality. And so you have to continually question yourself, question others. Remember, 7% of human conversations are lies. So remembering that even things that you think are facts and you log into your mental compass, right? This is truthful. Now I'm going to orient myself and live in this fact, right? That may not be a fact. And so you have to completely rely on intuitive learning, logistical understanding, and perceiving things as fluid in this world in order to truly survive in the chaos, especially today, especially with the information we're getting, especially with the politicians, especially with the world leaders, the celebrities, all these different people. Remember, nobody is perfect. Even the fucking Buddha wasn't perfect. Okay, he left his wife and kids. So remember to question everything. Have a nice day.